Your Facebook ads keep getting rejected. Every time you submit a new one, it comes back flagged. Medical claims, unsubstantiated promises. You're not even sure what you did wrong. You've read the policies. You've looked at what other brands are doing. You try to be compliant, but still rejected. When your ads do run, your conversion rate is stuck at 1.5%, maybe 2% if you're lucky. You're spending $50, sometimes $60 to acquire a customer who buys a $35 bottle and never comes back. The math doesn't work. You're burning cash, hoping something eventually clicks. You've tried different ad creative, different audiences, different landing pages, different copy. Nothing moves the needle. Meanwhile, you're watching competitors with worse products crushing it. You see their ads everywhere. They've got to be spending money. How are they making it work? What do they know that you don't? What if I told you that your problem has nothing to do with your ads? Your problem is that you don't understand what stage your market is in. And until you fix that, no amount of ads are going to save you. I'm Bobby Hewitt, and in the last episode, we talked about the foundation, the dual mind problem, the four forces. Today, we're going to talk about why your marketing keeps failing. And I'm going to show you that it's not an ad problem. It's a sophistication problem. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. Okay, so let me paint the picture of what this looks like day to day for most supplement founders. You've launched your supplement. You've got your website up. Your product looks good. You're ready to start getting customers. So you do what everyone tells you to do. You start running Facebook ads. You create an ad. It's got a good image of your product. You've written some copy about the benefits. Supports this. Helps that. Natural ingredients. All structure function. Claims, which are all allowed, by the way. Then you launch the ad. But the ad gets rejected due to medical claims. You're confused because you didn't make any medical claims. You didn't say it treats or cures anything. You said supports and promotes, the same words everyone else uses, but still rejected. So you rewrite it, you tone it down, you make it more generic, you submit it again. This time it gets approved. You feel relieved. The ad runs. You're getting clicks. They're expensive, but okay, you expected that. People are clicking through to your product page, and then nothing. They land, they look around, they bounce. Your conversion rate is 1.5%. So out of every 100 people who visit your page, 98 of them leave without buying. You're spending $50 to acquire each customer. They buy one bottle for $35. You're losing $15 on every sale. You tell yourself it's okay, you'll make it up on the back end, but your repeat purchase rate is 5%. Most people never buy again. The math doesn't work. So you start testing. You test different ad images, different headlines, different calls to action, but nothing really changes. Maybe you get a slight bump here or there. Maybe conversion goes from 1.5% to 1.7%, but it's not enough to make the economics work. Then you think maybe it's the landing page. So you hire a copywriter. They charge you $2,000. They rewrite your page. They add more benefit bullets. They make the headline bigger. They add more testimonials. They make the guarantee more prominent. You launch the new page. Conversion rate goes from 1.5% to 1.8%, a 20% improvement. You spent $2,000 for a 20% improvement that still doesn't make the math work. You're starting to wonder if this whole thing is viable. You're watching your competitors and you can see they're running ads. They're getting traffic. How are they making it profitable? You blame the algorithm. You blame Facebook's ad policies. You blame your ad creative. You think maybe you need to switch ad platforms. Maybe try Google. Maybe try influencer marketing. Maybe TikTok is the answer. But the problem isn't any of those things. The problem is deeper. And until you understand what it is, you're going to keep burning cash. Let me tell you a story that illustrates what's really going on here. I was working with a supplement brand last month. They came to me frustrated. They'd been running ads for 6 months. They spent $40,000. They had almost nothing to show for it. Their ads were getting clicks. Their product page was getting traffic, but nobody was buying. Conversion rate was stuck at 1.2%. They were acquiring customers at $65 each for a $44 first purchase. They were hemorrhaging money. So I looked at their ads. The copy said something like, "Lose weight naturally with our breakthrough formula. Backed by science. Get the body you've always wanted." I looked at their product page. It talked about their unique blend of ingredients. It explained how each ingredient works. It had some testimonials. It had a 60-day guarantee. It looked like every other supplement page I've ever seen. So I asked them one question. How many times do you think your customer has heard that exact promise before? They didn't have an answer. I said, your customer has heard lose weight naturally hundreds of times. They've tried dozens of supplements that made the same promise. They're skeptical, they're jaded, they don't believe you, and that's why they're not buying. That's when it clicked for them. Their problem wasn't their ad creative. It wasn't their targeting. It wasn't even their product. Their problem was that they were speaking to their market like it was 1998. Like people had never heard these promises before. Like they were the first supplement brand to ever say, lose weight naturally. But their market is sophisticated. Their market has heard it all. And sophisticated markets require a different approach. And this is called marketplace sophistication. And understanding where your market sits on the sophistication spectrum is the key to making your marketing actually work. So let me explain what marketplace sophistication is. Because once you understand this, everything about your marketing strategy changes. Marketplace sophistication is the answer to one simple question. How many times has your market heard the same promise before? That's it. That's the whole thing. How many times have they heard it? If they've never heard your promise, they're easy to sell to. You just state the benefit and they buy. Take this supplement and lose weight. Done. That worked 30 years ago when they didn't hear that promise from too many supplements. But if they've heard your promise 100 times, they're sophisticated, they're skeptical, they've tried multiple products, they've been disappointed, they discount everything you say by at least half, and simple benefit statements don't work anymore. Most supplement markets today are in stage 3 or stage 4 of sophistication. In those stages, your customers have heard every promise. They've seen every claim. They've tried multiple products. They know the game, and they're wise to it. This is why your ads don't work. This is why your conversion rates are terrible. Not because your ad creative is bad, not because your targeting is wrong, but because you're making promises to a sophisticated market that has heard those promises 1,000 times before. Let me break down the 5 stages of marketplace sophistication so you can see where your market sits. Stage 1 is completely unsophisticated. Your prospect has never heard your promise before. There's no competition. You're first to market. At this stage, all you need to do is state your claim. That's enough to get people to buy. This almost never exists in the supplement space anymore. Let's look at stage 2. Stage 2 is when competition starts appearing. Now, there are other products making similar claims, so you need to expand on your promise to stand out. Take this and gain an extra inch on your biceps in 3 weeks. You're adding specificity. You're adding time frames. You're making the promise bigger and more concrete. This is not compliant at all by the FDA. But black hat supplement marketers were using claims like this back in the 90s, and it worked for a while until every black hat marketer started doing it. Which leads me to a stage 3 market. Stage 3 is where most supplement markets are today. Your prospects have heard all the promises. They've heard the expanded promises. They've tried multiple products. They don't believe you anymore. At this stage, the promise alone doesn't work. You need something else. You need a unique mechanism or a unique ingredient like GLP-1. This happened for CBD 5 or 6 years ago, but that window closed fast. CBD is no longer unique. So buyers move on and learn more and enter stage 4. Stage 4 is a very mature market. Your mechanism has been presented and it's been expanded on. Now you need to differentiate your mechanism and expand the benefit even more. You're layering proof. You're showing why your mechanism is better than the other mechanisms they've heard about. And at the highest level is stage 5. Stage 5 is when the market is so saturated that no new mechanism works. At this point, you have to stop talking about the product altogether and identify with the prospect. You're selling based on emotion and identity, rather than mechanism or promise. Most supplement categories sit in stage 3 or stage 4. Weight loss, joint health, sleep support, gut health, cognitive function. Your market has heard it all, and this means you need to market differently. So what does it mean to market to a stage 3 or stage 4 market? What do you do when promises don't work anymore? This is where the unique mechanism comes in. And this is probably the most important concept I'm going to teach you in this entire episode. A unique mechanism is the reason why your supplement will work when everything else they've tried has failed. It's not just a bigger promise. It's not just saying you're better. It's a different explanation. It's the missing piece that makes your promise believable again. Let me give you an example. In the weight loss space, everyone says lose weight. That's the promise or the implied promise, even if they are not saying it. But that promise is dead. Nobody believes it anymore because they've heard it too many times. So you need a unique mechanism. You need to explain why losing weight has been difficult for them up until now and how your supplement addresses that. Maybe your mechanism is that weight loss isn't about willpower or diet. It's about hormonal balance. And your supplement rebalances hormones naturally. That's a mechanism. It's a different explanation for why weight loss is hard and how your approach solves it. Or maybe your mechanism is about stress. Weight gain isn't about calories. It's about high cortisol preventing your metabolism from working properly. And your supplement reduces stress and inflammation so your body can burn fat like it's supposed to. That's also a mechanism, and the mechanism doesn't have to be scientifically revolutionary. It just has to be unique to your market's awareness level. What's important is that they haven't heard this explanation before, or if they have, it wasn't positioned this way. And here's where this connects back to the 4 forces that sell supplements that I've talked about. Those forces are trust, belief, desire, and hope. But let's get back to the unique mechanism, because it actually has 2 parts, and each part speaks to a different force. Part 1 is the mechanism of trust. Part 2 is the mechanism of hope. The mechanism of trust explains the cause of their problem, not the surface level symptom, but the real underlying reason they've struggled. This builds trust because you're demonstrating that you understand their problem at a deeper level than anyone else. This is about emotion, not science. Think about weight loss again. Most people think they need to lose weight because they eat too much or they don't exercise enough. That's true, but it's surface level. But what if the real reason is hormonal imbalance? What if their hormones are working against them, no matter how much exercise they do? When you explain this root cause, you're building trust. You're showing them that you get it. You understand why all their previous attempts failed. You're letting them off the hook. It wasn't their fault. It was because they were addressing the wrong thing. They were treating the symptom, not the cause. This is the mechanism of trust, and it connects directly to the trust force. When you explain the root cause in a way that resonates, they start to trust that you actually know what you're talking about. The second part is the mechanism of hope. This explains how your supplement addresses that root cause. This gives them hope that your solution might actually work because it's attacking the problem at its source or in a different way, not just treating symptoms. This is where your ingredients come in. This is where your unique formulation matters. This is where your sourcing or your delivery method or your proprietary blend becomes relevant, but only in the context of addressing that root cause. So continuing the weight loss example, if the root cause is hormonal imbalance, your mechanism of hope explains how your specific ingredients rebalance hormones. Maybe you've got herbs that regulate cortisol. Maybe you've got compounds that support thyroid function. Maybe you've got ingredients that improve blood sugar regulation. You're connecting your ingredients to the root cause. You're showing them the path from where they are now to where they want to be. And that creates hope. That's the mechanism of hope. And it connects directly to the hope force in buying supplements. When you have both parts, when you have the mechanism of trust explaining the root cause and the mechanism of hope explaining how your supplement addresses it, that's when your marketing starts working in a sophisticated market. Because you're not just saying, lose weight naturally like everyone else. You're saying, here's why weight loss has been hard for you. Here's the real cause. And here's how we address that cause in a way nobody else is addressing it. That's a completely different conversation. And sophisticated markets respond to it. But here's the thing about unique mechanisms that most people don't understand. They don't have to be completely unique to be effective. They just have to be unique to your market's awareness. There's a famous example from copywriting history, Schlitz beer. Back in the early 1900s, all the beer companies were saying the same thing. Our beer is pure. That was the promise. Pure beer. Every company said it. Then Claude Hopkins, one of the greatest copywriters of all time, toured the Schlitz brewery, and he saw their process. They cleaned the bottles with steam. They filtered the beer 5 times. They had this whole purification process. He asked the executives, why aren't you talking about this in your advertising? And they said, well, every beer company does the same thing. It's just standard industry practice. Hopkins asked, but are they talking about it? And the answer was no. Nobody was talking about it. So Hopkins created a campaign explaining Schlitz's purification process in detail, how they clean the bottles, how they filter it 5 times, how they ensure purity. And Schlitz went from number 5 in the market to number 1 in just a few months. The process wasn't unique, but talking about it was. This is important because a lot of supplement founders think they need some revolutionary ingredient or some patent-pending formula to have a unique mechanism. You don't. You need to find something in your product, your process, your sourcing, your delivery method, something that your competitors aren't talking about, and you make that your mechanism. And maybe it's how you source your ingredients. Maybe you're getting an ingredient from a specific region that's really difficult to get to or only available at a certain time of year. If nobody else is talking about that, that can be your mechanism. Or maybe it's your delivery method. Maybe you're using liposomal technology to increase absorption. Other brands might use the same technology, but if they're not making it central to their message, it can be your mechanism. Maybe it's a specific combination of ingredients. Maybe you're the only one combining these 3 compounds in these specific ratios. The point is, unique mechanisms already exist within your product. You just have to find them and build your marketing around them. So let me show you how this changes everything about your marketing. Because when you understand marketplace sophistication and when you have a proper unique mechanism, all your tactical problems start to solve themselves. Remember those Facebook ads that keep getting rejected? That's often because you're trying to make stage 1 or stage 2 promises in a stage 3, or stage 4 market. You're saying lose weight fast or reduce inflammation naturally, and Facebook sees that as too good to be true. They flag it as a medical claim or an unsubstantiated promise. But when you wrap your promise in a unique mechanism, when you're explaining the root cause and how your approach addresses it, Facebook sees it differently. You're educating. You're explaining. You're providing context. That's more likely to get approved. Now, I'm not saying you can make any claim you want as long as you have a mechanism. Compliance still matters. But a well-crafted mechanism gives you more room to communicate value without triggering the ad platforms. What about your terrible conversion rates? When your product page is just listing benefits and features like everyone else, of course people don't buy. They've heard it all before. They don't believe you. They're skeptical. But when your product page leads with a unique mechanism, when you're explaining the root cause they didn't fully understand and showing them how your supplement addresses it differently, that changes the dynamic. You're not competing on the same playing field as everyone else. You're having a different conversation. Like they start thinking, oh, I didn't realize hormones were the issue. I've been focusing on the wrong thing. And this supplement addresses hormones in a way that makes sense. Maybe this is why everything else didn't work. That's when conversion happens. Not because you had to convince them with a bigger promise, but because you gave them a new understanding of their problem and a logical path to solving it. What about customer acquisition cost? When you're competing with 1,000 other supplements making the same promise, you're in a commoditized market. You have to compete on price or advertising spend. Whoever bids highest wins the click. Whoever has the lowest price wins the sale. But when you compete on unique mechanism, you're playing a different game. You're not saying our supplement works better. You're saying our supplement works differently. And here's why. That differentiation means you're not in a direct bidding war with everyone else. You can acquire customers more profitably because you're not commoditized. All of these tactical problems, ad rejections, low conversion rates, high cost of acquisition, they're symptoms of a sophistication mismatch. You're speaking to your market like they're unsophisticated when they're actually very sophisticated. And once you fix that foundational problem, the tactics start working better. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, I get it. I need a unique mechanism. But how do I actually create one for my supplement? This is where most founders get stuck. They understand the concept intellectually. They see how it works in the examples. But then they sit down to create their own mechanism and they freeze. How do I identify the root cause in a way that my market hasn't heard before? How do I connect my ingredients to that root cause in a way that's logical and believable? How do I craft this into a message that actually resonates? This is not easy. And this is exactly where having help makes the difference between figuring it out in 6 months versus figuring it out in 6 weeks. Creating a unique mechanism requires a few things. First, you need to analyze your competition. You need to understand what mechanisms are already being used in your market. What root causes are people already talking about? What explanations have people already heard? Then you need to find the gap. What root cause makes sense but hasn't been emphasized? What angle on the problem hasn't been explored? What aspect of your formulation or process or sourcing could become a mechanism? Then you need to craft both parts. The mechanism of trust that explains the root cause. The mechanism of hope that connects your supplement to addressing that cause. And you need to do this in a way that's compliant, believable, and compelling. And here's the tricky part. You can't optimize these in isolation. The mechanism of trust affects belief. If the root cause explanation doesn't resonate, they won't believe your mechanism. The mechanism of hope affects desire and trust. If the path from problem to solution isn't clear, they won't trust it will work. Then you need to integrate that mechanism into every piece of your marketing. Your ads can't just be about benefits anymore. They need to hint at the mechanism. They need to create curiosity about the root cause. Your product page needs to unpack the mechanism fully. Your email sequences need to reinforce it. Your retargeting ads need to address the objections to your mechanism. This is systematic work. And most founders trying to do this alone get stuck in analysis paralysis. They know what they're supposed to do, but they can't figure out how to do it for their specific product in their specific market. Let me tell you what happens when you get this right versus when you don't. Supplement brands that don't understand marketplace sophistication keep trying to compete with louder promises and lower prices. They're stuck in stage 1 or stage 2, marketing in a stage 3 or stage 4 market. They're saying the same things everyone else says, just trying to say it louder or with better design or with more ad spend. They get into a race to the bottom. Their margins compress because they have to lower prices to compete. Their ad costs keep rising because they're bidding against everyone else for the same clicks. Their conversion rates stay low because nothing differentiates them. Eventually, they either run out of money or they give up. They think the supplement space is too competitive. They think you need a huge marketing budget to succeed. They think only established brands can make it work. But that's not true. What's true is that sophisticated markets require sophisticated marketing. And most founders never figure that out. On the other hand, brands that nail their unique mechanism and match it to their market's sophistication level, they see completely different results. Their ads start working because they're not making the same promises as everyone else. Their conversion rates improve because they're having a different conversation. Their customer acquisition becomes profitable because they're not commoditized. They're not competing on the same terms as everyone else. They're competing on mechanism. They're competing on a unique understanding of the problem and a unique path to solving it. And that's how you win in a sophisticated market. Not with bigger promises, not with lower prices, not with more ad spend, with a unique mechanism that reframes the conversation. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't a magic formula where you create a mechanism once and you're done. Markets evolve. Sophistication increases over time. What works today might not work in 6 months because your competitors will copy you, or the market will hear your mechanism enough times that it becomes saturated. This is ongoing work. You need to stay ahead of marketplace sophistication. You need to watch what's working for competitors. You need to track when your mechanism starts to lose effectiveness. You need to be ready to evolve your mechanism or introduce new angles as the market catches up. This is supplement-specific thinking. It's understanding that your marketing isn't set it and forget it. It's dynamic. It evolves with the market. And staying ahead of sophistication is how you maintain profitable customer acquisition over time. Most e-commerce advice treats marketing like it's static. Create your product page, optimize your ads, scale. But supplements don't work that way. The market gets smarter. Competitors copy what works. You need to stay ahead. This is why generic direct-to-consumer e-commerce tactics fail in the supplement space, because direct-to-consumer tactics assume you're selling a commodity that people understand. They assume your differentiation is in branding or design, but supplements are different. Your differentiation needs to be in mechanism. It's in how you explain the problem and the solution, and that requires constant evolution as the market sophistication increases. All right, so let's bring this back to where we started. Your ads aren't working. Your conversion rates are stuck. You're burning cash. You feel like you're doing everything right, but nothing's clicking. Now you know why. Your market is sophisticated, stage 3 or stage 4. They've heard every promise. They've tried multiple products. They're skeptical. And you're marketing to them like they're unsophisticated, like they've never heard these promises before. You need to match your message to your market's sophistication level. And at stage 3 or stage 4, that means you need a unique mechanism. You need to stop competing on promises and start competing on mechanism. You need the mechanism of trust that explains the root cause they didn't understand. You need the mechanism of hope that shows how your supplement addresses that cause in a way others don't. And you need to integrate that mechanism into every piece of your marketing so it's consistent and reinforces itself. That's how you make marketing work in a sophisticated supplement market. That's how you get ads approved. That's how you improve conversion rates. That's how you acquire customers profitably. This is supplement-specific thinking, not generic e-commerce advice, not tactics that work for selling shoes or coffee or other products. A unique understanding that supplements require mechanism-based marketing in sophisticated markets, because people don't buy supplements the way they buy other products. Now, can you figure this out on your own? Maybe. Some people do. But here's what I see happen most of the time. Founders learn about marketplace sophistication. They understand they need a mechanism. They sit down to create one and they get stuck. They're not sure how to analyze their competition properly. They're not sure what gap exists. They're not sure how to craft the mechanism in a way that builds trust and hope simultaneously. They're not sure how to integrate it into their ads without getting rejected. They're not sure if their mechanism is strong enough or if it's falling flat. So they try something. They test it. It doesn't work. They're not sure why. They try something else. Still doesn't work. They're spinning their wheels for months when they could have gotten it right in weeks with proper guidance. This is exactly what I work on with clients. We analyze your market together. We identify your competition's mechanisms. We find your gap. We craft your mechanism of trust and your mechanism of hope. We test the messaging. We integrate it into your funnel. We diagnose what's working and what's not. It's not theory. It's implementation. Live. With feedback. With someone who's done this hundreds of times telling you exactly where you're going wrong and how to fix it. The videos in my course library teach you the frameworks. Marketplace sophistication. How to create mechanisms, how to optimize for the 4 forces. That's all there. That's the curriculum. That's $997 worth of content. But I'm opening my doors to a group of supplement founders and marketers. You'll get access to content and weekly calls where you bring your mechanism and I tell you if it's going to work or not. That's where we look at your ads together and figure out why Facebook keeps rejecting them. That's where we diagnose your conversion rate and figure out which force is weak. Plus, once a month, one member gets a full hot seat, a complete diagnostic on their business. Everyone else watches and learns. You see me apply these frameworks to real supplement brands in real time. And there's accountability. You can't just learn the concepts and do nothing with them. You're showing up every week with progress. You're reporting to the group. You're getting feedback. That creates momentum. If you want details, go to creativethirst.com/group or look for the link in the show notes. But whether you join or not, here's what you need to understand. Implementation is everything. Learning about marketplace sophistication is interesting. Actually creating a mechanism that works for your specific supplement in your specific market, that's where results come from. All right, in the next episode, we're going to talk about economics, why your numbers don't work, why your lifetime value is too low, why your cost to get a customer keeps rising, why your refund rates are eating your margins, why your repeat purchase rate is stuck, and I'm going to show you that these aren't operations problems. They're not pricing problems. They're not fulfillment problems. They're psychology problems. They're trust and belief problems. And when you fix the psychology, the economics fix themselves. But here's what I want you to take away from today. Your marketing isn't failing because your ads are bad or your targeting is wrong or your copy needs work. Your marketing is failing because you're speaking to a sophisticated market like they're unsophisticated. Stop trying to outpromise your competition. Stop trying to make bigger claims or lower your prices or spend more on ads. Start thinking about marketplace sophistication. Start competing on mechanism instead of promise. That's how supplement brands win in mature markets. That's supplement-specific thinking, and that's how you make marketing actually work. I'll see you in the next episode that drops next Sunday.